Hello, and welcome to another episode of Untraditionally Traditional, a podcast with me, Brittany Duncan, a millennial homemaker. Join me each week as I share all the things I've learned that make keeping your home, garden, and life running smoothly, all while working. If you are enjoying the podcast, please be sure to subscribe in your favorite podcasting app so you get the episodes downloaded straight to you every Monday. Now, on to today's episode. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to another episode of Untraditionally Traditional, a millennial homemaker. This is your host, Brittany Duncan, and I'm so happy to be back here with you. I took quite a hiatus from the podcast this summer, really, and I apologize for regular listeners who haven't had any episodes to enjoy. It's my hope that hopefully through the remainder of August and into the fall, life will be on a more kind of stable trajectory and that I can keep up with the content. I had some changes career-wise at my company, some shifts in my role, and just life with Johnson and I and traveling and seeing family and friends this summer. I talk about a lot of times how something's got to give, and it was the podcast was one of those things this summer. But I do have kind of a fun episode today. I titled it Lessons from London, and I'm going to be talking about a trip that I took with my granny and mom over to Britain, and the time that we spent there, and some of the takeaways that I had from across the pond, as they say. What else? But I typically do favorite things at the top of this episode, and honestly, I've had this kind of framework for what this episode would look like written down for months, and just haven't recorded. So the things that I wrote down aren't necessarily feeling like they're fitting. So, but I'll share them with you just because they are a good one. So first is like a breakfast that I've been doing. If you are a gardener, you probably have a ton of zucchini. And so what I've been doing is using half of a zucchini. I've been frying that in the frying pan, adding some fried eggs on top of that. And then I use the Trader Joe's, I think it's either pineapple or mango salsa, it might be both, from Trader Joe's, crispy shallots from Trader Joe's. And then I add in hemp seeds and alfalfa sprouts. And it's like this yummy, kind of sweet and savory breakfast bowl. It's getting my veggies in, that zucchini, fiber with the hemp seeds, good nutrients there too, the alfalfa sprouts. And yeah, I really enjoy it. I have it several times a week, and I have been doing that for probably 2 months now. So I really love it. Another thing is the Snackle box, and I can't remember if I've talked about that on here before, but basically what it is a snap Tupperware that has 8 little bowls or cubes inside of it, and it makes the perfect snack box to go. Like if you Google Snackle box in Amazon, that's what I did, and what I got, I originally saw my mom using it when we went to this play together that, you could bring your own food to, and she had it, and I was like, oh my gosh, I need one of those. And it's the perfect thing when we go rafting. It fits into a soft Arctic cooler perfectly, and unlike a true tackle box, which I've seen people use to divide snacks, this keeps the liquid contained. So I can add a dipping sauce in with carrots and not worry that it's going to run into the fruit. Same with watermelon, keeps that juice contained. And it's just like the best thing. I love a quote girl lunch, a couple slices of this, couple slices of that, few of these, few of those. And this is an on-the-go version of that. So anytime we're driving for a couple hours, it's what I pack in the car for food, and then we bring it every time we go rafting, and it's great. It would be really fun for kids too. I could see if you needed to feed little ones how it would be fun, and there's a little bit of something for everybody. Last but not least is doing my makeup. If you've listened to the show for a long time, you probably know that traditionally I'm a little to no makeup on most days kind of gal. I work from home. It's pretty low key. I follow like a natural beauty routine. But at the beginning of July, maybe even before that, I started doing my makeup again. And really what the catalyst was for starting again, clutch your pearls, was that I switched back to my toxic mascara. I was using a non-toxic one from Tubes & Co. And while I love everything from Tubes & Co., I've just found that the mascara runs and that I would look tired all the time. It would smudge and it just really was pissing me off. And I loved the mascara that I used all through high school and college. It's the Maybelline Mega Plush Mascara. It's like a teal or turquoise colored container, and it's great. And so I just went back to it, and it has everything else I use makeup wise is still from Tubes & Co. But this was like the one thing that makes me want to do my makeup again, because I feel like it looks done when I do it. I don't have to worry that it's going to be smudging. So I really have loved that. So if you have a good one to recommend it, I'm trying to remember, my sister-in-law had recommended a different one that she had found because she had the same issue with tubes. I think the one that she was using was from Honest Beauty Co. I need to double check with her. But I'll probably give that one a try as well, because I would love to have a non-toxic version. But in the meantime, I'm like kind of over sacrificing things in life just to like follow the non-tox lifestyle. And I know that's maybe a little off brand for me, but I try to be really honest on this podcast. Laundry detergents, like that's a big thing. Like I want my clothes to smell good. And I have like really struggled to find a natural laundry soap that is like making my laundry smell like it's actually clean. And so I just switched again to one. I haven't even used it yet, so I'm not going to mention it. And I would say it's like in the good, better, best, it's fine. It's branded pretty low tox, but when you use the apps that tell you the rating of what the things actually are and the concerns, and it does have some fragrance in it and blah blah blah. But basically, like I'm at the point where I need a soap that works. Like I'm getting a little short with things in life that feel like extra work. And okay, if I gotta give in on the soap a little bit, so be it. I don't know. I'll probably change my mind maybe in a couple months, and I'll read an article about all the terrible things that come from toxins and soap and chemicals and fragrance and that kind of thing, and I'll be like, I gotta get rid of this. But right now I'm just trying to make things in life a little bit easier, and so that's what I'm doing. I'm using my mascara that I know works, and I'm trying a different laundry soap, and basically cutting out things that are not working well in life. Okay, but on a more fun topic, let's talk about England. So this trip came to fruition because my granny's best friend was turning 90, and my grandmother decided that she would not only fly halfway around the world to visit her, but that she also wanted to bring my mom and I so that we could all have a girls' trip together. So sweet, so generous. I consider myself well-traveled, but I've never visited the UK. Honestly, when I was thinking about it, it's really that I've been holding out hope that one day I'd be able to do it with my mom and granny. So this was an amazingly special trip for me and a dream come true. When we landed in London, we immediately headed west to Newbury. And this is where my grandmother lived from ages 5 to 11 during the war. And in the strangest sense, like having never been there in my life, it felt like coming home. Like I could feel the roots that I have to this place through my granny and her experiences there. Like a lot of the character traits that I have that I attribute to her, I now realize are from this place, like from this life that she used to have there, from, the experiences she had as a child that partially shaped her into who she is. So yeah, I just had this like really great sense of peace in these rolling hills and farmland of the English countryside, and almost like a longing to be in that area. It's this quiet, peaceful serenity of small town living in the country. And I know that that's like, that's a fairy tale idea, right? Like it's a snapshot of what farming looks like. It's the picturesque, beautiful side of it. But anybody who farms knows that it's not actually the case, right? It's early mornings and it's late nights and it's all hands on deck, and it's, a cattle getting loose, it's sick animals or any manner of issues. Financially, it's really hard. There's a lot of cogs in the machine that is farming, but it was just so interesting how I felt this like sense of longing for it. It was interesting. We stayed with my grandmother's goddaughter, when we arrived, and immediately I was like thrust into kitchen prep for a big barn party that they were throwing for their community. And when we got there, as I often do, I asked if I could help. And quite promptly, it was like swept into kitchen prep with two other women my age. And it was a delight. And I realized as I was sitting there, chopping fruit with them, that there's no better way, no more casual way, comforting way, easy way to get to know others and feel at peace than to be like chatting while chopping or stirring or prepping food. It takes the pressure off of getting to know one another and immediately makes things casual. Like you're on a unified front. You are all working towards the same end goal. I immediately felt at ease, and it's a gift that like now I would like to offer in my own kitchen. So definitely want to, right away I like had, here's a lesson from London. Like if a guest asks if they can help, you let them, they are going to enjoy being part of that experience and keeping their hands busy and, just having that experience that I got to have. I was like, I want to be able to offer that in my kitchen. So the party prep was like pretty standard, except this dessert that we were prepping, which is now in my arsenal for an easy sweet treat when hosting. It's called Eton Mess. And in short, it's sweetened whipped cream and berries combined, and then you serve it with crushed meringues. Super simple. It's delicious. It's sweet and light and fresh, and it's easy to make. Johnson and I, the other week we were hosting some friends. We had 6 people in total, and I made it for them, and it was just like so easy. I literally like put the cream in the KitchenAid, turned it on, added some honey, mixed in the berries, crushed the meringues. It was like ding, 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 done. You can, prep it ahead of time too, and then just add the meringues right before serving. So definitely look it up if you're looking for like a really easy, sweet, summery dessert that's also light. Meringues can be, hard to find in the regular grocery store. Like I had not noticed them beforehand, but our Trader Joe's has had them for July and August. So I don't know if this is something that they have year round or if it's just for the summer months, but I did find them there if that's helpful. While we were in Newbury, we did a number of things, all of which made my heart sing. My mom and I attended an antique fair, and we were just shopping head to head, side by side. It's always been a love language since I was itty bitty. It's just to be like with her and literally like just side by side, chatting, strolling, looking, brainstorming together how we could use things. And, oh, I love that design. And, oh, what a cool piece. And I've always loved these moments. So to do it in England at an antique fair was super special. And y'all know I love a good antique. So it was a great moment. We visited the Highclere Castle, which for those of you who don't know it by that name, you would probably recognize it as Downton Abbey. Super cool to walk through the estate, and I was transported right into the show. All of the rooms are furnished exactly the way they are in the show, which was surprising. I was thinking that the show directors and stage design and whatnot would bring in their own furniture and everything, but it's exactly how it is in real life, and it's not staged. This home is a working home currently, and so it was really cool to see be able to like transport and see all the rooms and characters, and I absolutely loved watching Downton Abbey. So to see the Highclere Castle of which it was filmed was really neat. The gardens, beautiful. Loved that. Something I noticed from the grounds, which is going to be kind of hard to describe over the podcast because this is audio, but was that in English gardening they use a lot of like bamboo stakes to organize and basically make cages for their plants. So they would have peonies or hydrangeas or big tall daisies, and they would put in these bamboo stakes and then just use simple gardening twine to create the kind of trellis or cage that they needed. And I was like, that's brilliant. It looks really pretty. It's uniform. It's subtle, and so that is something that I'm going to be working into my garden as well. We also got to share tea and proper English stones with preserves and clotted cream, and just look at the castle and enjoy the sunshine. And so, yeah, it was really cool. If you're ever visiting London, I'd say it's worth the trip outside of London to go to Newbury and to visit Highclere Castle if you are a Downton Abbey fan. Rest of our time in Newbury, we explored a lot of the lands around that make it so special. We saw farms and paddocks and cattle farming operations and beautiful stables with baby foals that we were lucky to be able to get right up to and admire. One morning, I got to help some escaped cattle back to where they were supposed to be. So that was a fun and new experience for me. We picked blackberries on the farm and had them that night over custard, and it just felt really good to get back to basics for a minute. Nature, farming, animals, remembering where our food and grain comes from, the hard work it takes to make it happen, what small sustainable farming looks like. Naturally, I came home and tried to convince Johnson that we needed more land and more animals, and that I wanted to get more of a farm than we already have in our little backyard hobby farm. I'm still working on convincing him of that. But anyway, it was really fun. After our 3 days in Newbury, we hopped on the train. We headed into London, and this was like a crazy just juxtaposition between Newbury and London, two sides of a country, not geographically, but like lifestyle wise, the country life versus the city life. And this is a tip, like something I'd love to do when I travel is to have that experience. When I studied abroad in Thailand, our first 2 weeks that we spent there, the program that I was in, we stayed with families in rice farming villages outside of Chiang Mai. And the program said, this is really important for you to gain an appreciation for how 80% of the country lives. Before we began our studies in Chiang Mai, which is the second largest city, they're like, that's not the norm of Thailand. So you should get to know what the norm is. And so being able to, see what agriculture looks like outside of London, and then to visit London, which is dominated by financial and business sectors. It was an eye-opening experience. I loved both equally, but differently. London is everything that you'd wish for in a big city. It's easy to navigate. It felt safe. It was very clean. The people were so kind. One of our first stops in London was Fortnum and Mason, which is quite literally a candy shop for the culinary soul. I'll talk more about our experience there in a moment, but while my mom and I were head-to-head comparing what was probably 50 varieties of marmalade, this lovely gentleman, a local, just struck up conversation with us. We're clearly tourists with our accents, yet on his regular shopping trip to pick up some marmalade and tea, we learned, he took the time to connect with us. And it struck me that in the United States, I don't feel this is something we do. And I was thinking about it, why don't we do this? One, I think we're terrified to profile people. And even when we do this, everybody does this. It's human nature to assess people, but we don't want to admit that we've done this. So instead we just ignore each other completely. And it's really sad. We're wrapped up in our own worlds. Grocery shopping's a to-do, not an experience. And we try as hard as we can to be in and out as quickly as possible. Granted, Fortnum and Mason is not a grocery store; it's a luxury store, and it's an experience, and it's about appreciation of food and ingredients and culture. But still, even at the farmers market, I'd say we're scared to connect. We don't want to bother one another. We're shy. We live in a siloed society, and for the most part, I just didn't feel that in London. It felt like there was a connection amongst peers, amongst people, both foreign, us and, domestic. It didn't matter that we're tourists. This gentleman took time out of his day to get to know us and let us into his world for a few minutes. And it was one of the top highlights of the trip. So the big lesson learned there was to open yourself up to others, start a conversation, and stop being so goddamn afraid of offending everyone, that we're missing out on connections with people because we're being groomed to be afraid of connection in case we do it wrong, or that we can only do it online or when people invite us to connect with them. So that's going to be something that I'm working on, is just being more open to connection with others, and then also instigating it myself. I definitely saw it abroad, but I notice it all the time, and I'm guilty of it too, but that we're so glued to our phones. The second we start to feel uncomfortable or alone, we look at our phone, and in doing that, we close ourselves off from people that might want to actually make conversation. So that's something I'm trying to be better about. But let's talk about Fortnum and Mason, because if you listen to this podcast, I think you would probably absolutely love the shop. It's what dreams are made of. Think William and Sonoma, but 1,000 times better. They had jams and jellies, sauces, spices, fine chocolate, teas. They have a whole floor dedicated to tea, and we were able to sit and smell the teas and learn about them, and then buy them loose leaf by weight. And it was amazing. Everything in this 4-story store is about quality food, quality house and kitchenwares, appreciation of quality, not necessarily cost, although there were some very fine things in the shop, but just well-made, well-sourced goods. Like the tea, for example, high quality tea, but when purchased loose leaf was actually really reasonable. So highly recommend if you're ever there in London. And for those that aren't, the lesson there that I took away is to splurge on certain items, and kind of everyday things, something like tea. You can have a luxury tea and it's still not astronomical. So I think there's things, especially when we look at food, that can be really quality and we can treat ourselves to, and just have a little bit and savor it and enjoy it, but have that quality thing. So that's something I'm keeping my eyes open for. And as I, need to reorder things in my kitchen, or I run out of something, thinking, do I like or love the version of this that I'm using? Is there another version out there that's better quality? How much more expensive is it? Is it worth it? Maybe I should try that to really enjoy food and the experience of, kind of that culinary appreciation. After Fortnum and Mason, or while we were in London, we did the double-decker hop-on, hop-off bus, which was really great. It's definitely the way to get around the city if you're trying to get to all the hot spots quickly and coolly, because the top of the bus is nice and breezy, even in the London summer heat. And we only had 2 days to pack in everything we wanted to see in London. So the bus was really important. We saw a lot of the sites, and I have a long list of places that I'd like to spend more time exploring when I'm back for an extended visit one day. But this was a great way of doing it. And then also just enjoying some of the normal aspects of London life. Of course, being the thrifter that I am, they have charity shops in London, and they're consignment stores here. The pricing, it's not thrift store prices by any means, but, also really reasonable, and just really nice quality stuff. And so that was really fun to do. Just walking around and, getting lunch from a street vendor in a market, and, kind of locals would do. And, just that kind of thing when traveling is really neat. So we had a beautiful time. It was such a good trip. Anytime you can connect with loved ones and travel with them, it's and experience things together that, just brings you closer. And, picked up a few souvenirs, of course. My rule when I travel is that I try to buy things that I can use. But I'm really good at being oh, I can use this for XYZ, really, it's like a pretty thing. Like, for example, I bought several items that I was like, oh, this could also be used as like a cute little vase, a little bud vase, or a medium-sized vase, where really it's like a pretty item to put on a shelf. But I have been using them to put my flowers in. So lots of things there. And then like things I can use, like teas, and I bought a bunch of stuff at Fortnum and Mason that I can use there. So art is something I like to buy, not like fine art, but just things that speak to me that I can put up on my wall or on a shelf that remind me of something, beautiful in a beautiful place. So anywho, that is kind of what I have for this episode, kind of warming back up into the podcast. So hopefully you enjoyed these lessons from London whenever you travel, or even if it's just like a weekend trip, within your state, like trying to keep stock of like what are lessons that you're learning and writing them down. And it's surprising how many come to mind as you start this practice. So things you see and like and want to implement in your own life and home. Until next week, happy homemaking, everybody. Thank you for listening to this episode of Untraditionally Traditional. If you enjoyed the podcast, please share it with those special people who would love it too, and write a review. For more tips and photos of my home and garden, follow Untraditionally Traditional Pod on Instagram. Until next week, let's continue to make our homes places of joy and service to ourselves and those we share them with.